Greetings, folks, from Gauteng. It doesn't matter how many times I caution the South African government against counterproductive statements, they still make these idiotic statements. The latest is President Ramaphosa agreeing with Emerson Mnangagwa, the Crocodile, the illegitimate leader of Zimbabwe, who was appointed president when he wasn't even a government official after running like a coward to South Africa, claiming he'd been poisoned at a county fair, abandoning his role as vice president of Zimbabwe and fleeing to South Africa, no longer government official, Kansi Chiwenga leading a bloodless coup that overthrew Robert Mugabe, the nonagenarian, and placed illegally Emerson Mnangagwa into the president's office. Subsequently, he ran an election where he was defeated and stole the election from the opposition. So this illegitimate leader of Zimbabwe gets the endorsement and support of Cyril Ramaphosa, which comes as no surprise. Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa thanked President Cyril Ramaphosa for South Africa's support in calling for the removal of sanctions against Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa called the sanctions stupid and illegal during a binational commission in Pretoria. Mnangagwa and Ramaphosa emphasized that South Africa and Zimbabwe will be deepening ties, including inclusive economies and cooperation, migration, trade, and heritage restitution, which is comical given that South Africa's domestic organizations like March and March have been terrorizing, intentionally or otherwise, foreign nationals, including Zimbabweans who fled back to Zimbabwe as a consequence of these abuses from organizations like Operation Judella and March and March. They said progress on the Bight Bridge, one-stop border posts, and the third Limpopo Bridge are critical for trade and economic growth. Sure, 32 years later, welcome to the party. Now, Mnangagwa delivered the message of thanks to Ramaphosa during that binational commission in Pretoria just a couple of days ago on Friday. He said, "We're grateful for the consistent support that South Africa has rendered towards calling for the unconditional removal of illegal and stupid sanctions imposed on our country." Now, folks, there are no illegal sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe. Who are they illegal? By what standard? By international agreement? By some international law? These are legal. The United States has no obligation, Europe has no obligation to trade with a country who commits vast human rights abuses and murders its own citizens when they don't like the outcome of an election. As far as stupid, how are they stupid? Perhaps because they're not effective enough. Zimbabwe has been able to skirt around these sanctions for over 20 years. So maybe they are stupid. Maybe they should be more severe. Mnangagwa said, despite the negative effect of illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe, we say a country is built, freed, and enjoyed by those who call it home. Really? Really? Explain to me why 4 million Zimbabweans live abroad, because it's unsafe for them to live in your corrupt country. Again, in Pretoria on Friday, Ramaphosa said South Africa stands with Zimbabwe. He said the aim was to build inclusive economies that create work and sustainable livelihoods for the intention to build societies in which every person may equally enjoy the fruits of freedom. Well, every person that's a cater, certainly not the vast majority of Black South Africans who lived in poverty, or any white South Africans who are continually excluded from university, from tenders with the government, and from now private corporations, where the racist Employment Equity Act amendment now limits the number of men who are white to 4.3% of the workforce at management level. That's racist and counterproductive. You should hire the best people if you want a sustainable economy. And including people, inclusive, where people can enjoy the fruits of freedom. White, Indian, and colored South Africans can't enjoy the fruits of freedom. They're being oppressed. They're denied bursaries. They're denied enrollment in medical school. They're denied access to universities. They're denied access to government jobs. They're denied access to senior leadership in the military ranks and in the police. There's no effort to make everyone fully enjoy the fruits of freedom. That's just a bumper sticker by Ramaphosa. It's utter nonsense. It's untrue. Now, back to the story about Ramaphosa endorsing Zimbabwe's position on stupid and illegal sanctions. Does Cyril think this is actually a good look? Who's advising this guy? This is not a good look. Just like I cautioned John Steenhuisen a year ago when he was supposedly meeting with Iranians, that if he did that, it's a bad look, particularly before you go to the White House. I'm once again cautioning the ANC that your actions are counterproductive. They won't improve relations with the United States. Obviously, that's not your goal. You're simply poking the bear. You're just poking and poking and poking and poking. And eventually the bear is going to respond. And who do you think is going to win? The bear or the diker? The ANC is just a diker. Trump is a bear, and he will eat the ANC for lunch. Folks, it's coming. The South African government has made no attempt whatsoever, zero attempt to negotiate tariffs, made zero attempt to deal with the underlying conditions that the Trump administration said must be addressed before we can improve this relationship. They have yet to disavow the kill the Boer hate speech song that leads to the violence and death of rural South Africans. They have done nothing to remove the racist legislation that forces American companies to give their equity to a black caterer. Nothing's been done. No action has been taken on any of the points the U.S. government wanted action on. And instead, the South African government continues to insult and belittle the United States political leadership. They continue to do things counterproductive to the needs of South African citizens. And it's just a matter of time before Trump brings the hammer down. What will that look like? Targeted sanctions? Perhaps. I'm asking the ANC tonight, please change course. Your policies are counterproductive for South Africans, black, white, and brown, but especially for black South Africans. Abandon this flirtation with socialism and return to the community of nations. Please do so before you force this country's economy to implode and civil war to break out. There's no need for that nonsense. If you truly love South Africa, stop loving it for blacks only. That's not the promise of the end of apartheid. Folks, reporting from Gauteng, this is Chris saying, what say you? I've got a question. What are your thoughts? South Africa. Lasagna. What are your thoughts on this issue? From Joburg. God bless and go well.